Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 9th, 2024 Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start the meeting with a pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A few announcements to make. Pretty standard. Emergency exits are to your left and right. Restrooms are out the back and to the left. Please be sure to sign the attendance sheet if you haven't already at the back of the room on the meeting table. There are business cards with contact information should you need them for the planning department. Also on the back table, a copy of resolutions that will be read tonight along with the agenda. Please silence your cell phones, turn off the ringers so it doesn't disrupt speakers for each application. And also, if you have any conversations amongst yourselves, please take it out the back doors and close them behind you so you also don't disturb those who are speaking with the board. Also, a shout out for Wes Patty, who's recovering from a bicycle accident. Wes, we wish you all the best and a speedy recovery. And we're glad to have Kate here. I know you're watching, Wes. You can't get away. Approval of meeting minutes, April 23rd, 2024, and June 11th, 2024. Anyone have any comments for Lisa on meeting minutes?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval of both.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second?
Second from Scott or Ernie?
Me.
Ernie. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. Thank you, Lisa. Correspondence received, Marcia Senges regarding Bluestone Trail, not on the board docket for this evening, but please take note of it. And for board and committee updates, is Alexis here from town board? Nope. I assume no one else is, so no town board updates. Keith, planning board update for our next meeting?
Keith Maynard, Program Manager for the Town of Victor. Your next planning board meeting is Tuesday, July 23rd at 7 o'clock. Two public hearings. First one is U-Haul Self-Storage Site Plan and Lot Line Adjustment. This is at 8045 State Route 96. Applicant is requesting approval to combine the two tax parcels to facilitate the placement of prefabricated metal storage units totaling 13,600 square feet on the existing paved parking area. And then the second one is the Victor Square facade and sidewalk on State Route 96. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a 20 by 20 loading dock addition at the north end, facade improvements to the older portion of the center, sidewalk improvements with additional width, lighting, and landscaping improvements. A reduction in allowable parking is also being requested. And that is it, plus any carryovers from tonight. Any questions?
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Keith. Okay. Public hearing this evening, the first item on the agenda, Lightcom's new building. Applicant is requesting approval to construct a 20,000 plus or minus square foot building with the associated utilities, drainage, and 28 new parking spaces on a 9.7 acre parcel. The address 7321 State Route 21. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good. Link Swedrock with BME Associates. Also here with me tonight is Andrew Coloratolo from Lightcoms, as well as, sorry, what's his name? Bob Jacobson, I'm sorry. Sorry, Bob. I spaced for a sec. Anyways, we're here. We were here before. We were here last year with this same building proposal for 20,000 square foot. It was in the rear of the property. And we got approval from the site for site plan approval for that at that time. And then we were coordinating with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and they delineated and take more wetland from the rear than we were anticipating with the original design. And they regulated more back there. So We have now proposed it in the reason we had it in the back is because we needed a front setback if we put it in the front of the, in front. So we moved the 20,000 square foot building to the front. Like Joe said, 79 parking spaces proposed. There's 28 spaces for the new building and 51 parking spaces that will remain and be constructed new in the rear for the existing office and manufacturing in the back. The 20,000 square foot building is, like I said, consistent. There's loading docks that'll be on sort of the southwest side of it. And then both a 4-foot loading dock and an at-grade delivery area for their deliveries. It's manufacturing. The property is, like you said, 9.7 acres in site. It's zoned light industrial. And we are just basically proposing the parking where we need it as far as supporting the existing office, manufacturing, and as well as what we think we need for the manufacturing in the front. The parking, we went back and forth on the location of the parking. We located the parking in the front, and those 2 concrete pads we located in the rear are basically for their operations so that they're facing in the right direction. And then we're proposing a new stormwater management area in the front that'll take care of the stormwater drainage from the site. The sewer, there's an existing sewer manhole that's up in the front that we were bringing in before. It's going to be sort of consistent with that. We're bringing in a new lateral. The existing building is on a septic, so we'll be bringing a new sewer lateral in, gravity to sewer, to serve both the new building and the existing building, as well as the water. There is a 6-inch water that comes all the way back there with a hydrant now. We will just be tapping that and putting a new water service in to serve the new building, sprinkler the new building, and provide the domestic as well. So we have been to, since we've submitted, we've been to county planning. We've received staff comments from the town. We've tried to provide written responses to all those comments. I believe we didn't have any issues trying to assess all those. We did coordinate with the fire marshal on the fire questions he had. I believe we've addressed his comments about fire. And then we went to county planning. We addressed their comments. We talked to them about their comments. We also got the Labella comments today, and we've gone through them. I don't see anything. We didn't respond, but I do feel like those are all comments that we feel that we can address and make sure we address as conditions of approvals. Andrew, here, he did provide some additional architectural things that the board might have some questions on. I think at the last one, we talked about the architecture a little bit as well. But we did get the front setback variance, was granted by the ZBA, so the variance was granted. And we're looking here to talk about site plan approval and answer any questions that you have. I think I
Okay.
covered everything.
Thank you, Link. Sounds like you're doing a thorough job checking through all the boxes, but I'll open it up to the board. Joe Limbeck, want to start?
The big thing that stood out to me was the architectural review being incomplete, and I'm looking at the package here in front of me, and it looks like you went through sort of line by line and addressed the comments. I guess my question is, are we satisfied with the responses?
I think we had some on the architectural renderings. Yeah, if you could bring those up. Kate, Lizzie, could you bring up the architectural renderings, please? Thanks.
Want to talk a little bit about the building?
Yeah, I think they're going to bring up the presentation that
The
I sent.
rendering?
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So, sorry.
Go ahead.
Push
If you want to explain that.
Yeah. So I had sent through some photos and a rendering that we had put together. So the top photo is our building right now, where you can see the brick, essentially brick facade that's on there, and then the corrugated metal that's above it, which I believe is the type of corrugated metal that the architectural firm had asked for, Labella had asked for. So our plan is to essentially use the exact same types of materials so that the building that we're proposing to build, has a very, very similar theme and feel to the building that is already there to, keep the neighborhood feel, so to speak, for our piece of property, but also, as our customers come on, there's some continuity between the two buildings as we're operating in them. The rendering that's below was done by an architect colleague of mine who actually does residential things, so he's not taking on the project, but the project will actually be completed by Rossi Architects. So they're out of downtown Rochester, and have tremendous experience in doing hospitals and strip malls and all kinds of good looking things. So we have very, very good feedback from them that we'll be incorporating to this building.
Okay. Mark Hakupka provided some comments to the board today. So I don't know if you've seen these yet, but so there, he's noting that we're requesting all four sides of the building renderings. There's a requirement for a 3D rendering that he's noting. And he's fine, he's okay with using the rendering, the precedent of the new building, the existing building is precedent to the new building. It is a bigger scale building. I was going to make this comment. I think that at least you'd want to increase the height of the brick to the tops of the windows like you have on the existing building. That would be my comment regarding the architecture from what we're seeing right here.
So that it mirrors more exactly the building, the current building, right?
Yeah, in scale, it's a bigger building, but but they've reduced the amount of brick or call it concrete block, architectural concrete block that's there relative to the metal that's exposed. And you're right up at 51, so it's something that at least on the front side, I would expect you'd want to maintain.
Yeah, so a couple of comments. So we do have a tree line in front of 251, so hopefully it blocks it off a little bit. But the rendering that's at the bottom actually has a 312 pitch roof. So it looks actually significantly taller than it is. We've actually dropped that down to a 112 pitch, just to keep it a little bit more normal. So, and to match the pitch that we have on our building now. So it's the same pitch. So it has a bit of a peak, but not quite as dramatic as what we have there, which is probably look more like a barn with a 312.
Yeah, I'm just commenting on if you look at the windows, the tops of the windows are still about the same height below the roof line as what's on the higher, the upper elevation view with the lower building. And so to me, it looks more out of scale.
Right.
That's and when you're looking at it from the side, even if you've got a lower pitch, you're still going to have a big blank wall on that side. So those are my comments on it. Joe, if you want to expand on what you were thinking, or do you have any comments on that?
No, I agree with your comments. I think all of that gray is just a little too much for a building that big.
Yeah, I appreciate the explanation about the roof line and the pitch, but to me, I'd like to keep it to scale with what's already there in
Okay.
terms of the heights of the walls.
Okay.
Al?
Yeah, the only build I would say is also the center pediment to, again, make that a little bit larger so it, kind of scales more with the size of the building. The one over the
sorry,
front entrance.
like where the doors are.
Yeah, so
Okay.
just a little higher and
Yeah, that's a good comment.
widen it out.
Okay.
Scott, comments?
Is there a landscaping plan associated with the project? There is? Maybe you could just review with us what you're proposing in terms of landscape?
Drawing number 5, Scott.
Drawing number 5? I guess one question relative to landscaping that I had was just foundation plantings around the building. Are you putting something there? Maybe, yeah, I guess you are.
Yeah, sorry, hold on, let me get to the mic here. I mean, we're trying to keep the woods as much as we can around the perimeter.
Uh-huh.
And then we have landscape plantings in the pond, as well as some plantings, foundation plantings in the front of the building, and then just some trees at the end of the parking areas proposed.
The plantings around the pond, as long as we're talking about that link, are they low level, bush
Yeah,
scale, or are you looking at bigger trees around the pond?
they're bushes and seed mix to
Okay.
meet the DEC requirements.
keep it
For like
around.
treatment, so it's low, it's not
Yeah.
high.
Okay, so you will see the building across that
That side.
area where you're creating the pond and that landscaping.
Yeah, well, there's still another buffer on the other side of the drive there that we're gonna leave some of that, but when you come in the front by where that entrance is, you're gonna see that
Mhm.
building.
I see.
The conservation easement that you're granting the town, I guess, is that just because you're wanting to give the town a conservation easement? Is there,
The new,
reason behind that?
we're actually taking credit, stormwater credit, for using it as a conservation area. So,
Wayne, could you speak a
That's-
little closer to the mic, please?
sorry, so that's part of the new stormwater requirements, is if you conserve areas, you can use it as credits towards your stormwater management, but it has to be in some kind of conservation easement, whether it goes to the town or whether it stays in a conservation easement, but it's a wet area with creeks in it, and it was an area that seemed like it made sense to use as part of our stormwater design.
okay, that's all I have.
Ernie, comments?
Yeah, I just want to be sure on this, the appearance of the outside that Joe brought up. Is it going to look something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so the other drawing we have here doesn't show any of that. So it's not the way it is going to look.
I think that's what Mark Krokufka was recommending, was get elevations on all four sides so you can see what the side looks like.
Okay. Well, that's the only comment I had.
Okay,
You've got railroad tracks in the north. How
Yeah.
close is this going to be to the tracks?
ultimately, the tracks will be the road, if the tracks go away someday. So that was a comment I made on your original application, was, well, we got a building, it's buried in the back, but not really, because in the future, that it was intended to be a roadway. Once the Ontario Railways exceeds to allowing that to be built, so, so yeah, they're needing to address it now that it's right up against the Route 251.
That's all I had, Joe.
Oh, okay. It's a public hearing. I'll open up the floor to anyone here that may wish to comment. If there is anyone, please approach and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will entertain, Kate, sorry. I was going to close public hearing, but, Kate, why don't you go ahead, and if you got any comments from Labella's perspective?
Sure. So, Kate Powers, Labella Associates. So we did issue a letter today. Some of the highlights were we will require additional reports and documentation. So we'll need a SWIP, and then also they're required to have a construction general permit as well. And then to reiterate the chair, we did note that the location of this building is along Ontario Central Railroad, that there is a strategic infrastructure plan for that to one day become a road. And I think that what will be helpful is having renderings of all four sides of the building, so that you can better understand what could potentially become a frontage in the future. I also have a quick question. So in the rear, you have those concrete pads that are 40 by 20. What is the proposed use for those?
Yep, so your first question on the 3D renderings and the all four sides facade. So in the proposal that we received from Rosie Architects recently, is a very detailed description of all the drawings that they will give us. So, and
Okay.
those are definitely included, so we'll submit those when we have them. With the concrete pads in the back, so right now, if you look at our building, we have a very, very open south side. So we operate satellite communication systems back there. So on our geosynchronous satellites, we have to look south. On our SpaceX and Starlink satellites, we can kind of look anywhere, but you have to be a little bit away from the building. So what the concrete pads do is allow us to roll our systems outside, and I can get a view of the southern arc as well as pretty much everything right above it. And that's why we, have them coming out 20 feet. So when we're operating on SpaceX, we can go all the way to the edge. And those are smaller systems anyways, but we can get right to the edge and get, essentially a cone straight up. And then we have just our factory planning. It would be extremely beneficial for us to have pads in the I'll call it the front and the back side of our factory. So we just mimic those on either side. And those pads, it's not really shown on the drawing, but they have overhead doors. So
Oh, okay.
those will open so we can roll systems in and out.
Okay, so then I'm assuming that any like equipment is going to just be temporarily placed there.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Some additional items. So drawing number 2, there's a utility note that talks about an existing septic tank. If you could just provide some additional information regarding that.
Yeah, we're going to have to do a little homework on that. We're trying to
Okay.
find out where it exactly is.
Okay.
But we know there's a tank off the existing structure now.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've ran essentially like a snake in a camera through the pipe, and so we know it's there. There was some conflict in the documentation when we purchased the building, but
Sure.
it is definitely there. We can find it.
Okay. And so you're saying that, so do you know generally, is it east of the existing building, or is it, you don't even have that?
Utah, Point.
I think it's southwest
It's
down there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's where we're bringing the sewer in anyway, so we're going to probably find it.
Okay, great. Additionally, the outlet structure detail just seems minor, but the calculations don't necessarily match the detail. One includes a weir and the other one doesn't, so just either or, having them be consistent. And Mary also noted that the detail for the wet pond includes a micro pool bottom, and to just resolve that as well. Additionally, we believe the use of the preservation of undisturbed areas via the conservation easement is appropriate for area reduction and runoff reduction as well. And then additionally, because this is going to be private infrastructure, it's not necessarily something that has to be changed, but Susie, if you could just switch over to my laptop, please. So just looking at the sewer main extension, and so going down here and then over here and then down, it's going at like a right angle. And so just noting that potentially you could cross this way and it would be, a more direct path, but understanding that you would likely be disturbing more of this driveway for that. But obviously it's going to be private infrastructure, and so this is still functional the way it is, but obviously water doesn't necessarily go in a right angle that, as opposed to it going just straight down this way. But it doesn't necessarily need to be changed, just something to think about. And then besides that, we don't really have anything else.
Thank you, Kate. Any comments or responses?
I would just say that the bend has a 0.25 inch drop in it per 10
Okay.
state standards. And the reason we're doing that is to try to minimize disturbance to access to their facility. So
Yeah.
we're trying to just go across quick and keep them open.
Okay. So, as I started, this is a public hearing. I do not see any interest in public comment, so I'll entertain a motion for closing the public hearing.
Move.
Joe moves.
I'll second.
Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Any other comments from the board, questions, before we move on?
I just wanted to confirm it's dark sky compliant lighting you're putting in there and that sort of thing, so it'll be very subtle at night. Because right now, it's kind of sweet, you can't see anything back there.
Yeah, we have a lighting plan too, and
I
we've
saw- I
got
saw
dark
that.
sky compliant fixtures.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm, that's all.
Okay. One of the conditions in here, Link, is regarding the comments from the architectural consultant. That the comments in the letter dated June 12th, 2024, from the architectural consultant be addressed. I think I would like to modify that a little bit and ask that in order to address those, you're going to have to provide, the elevations correct. So I think we would like to see that architectural, those renderings, and I'd put that as a condition of not approval of this resolution, but we'd like to go ahead and approve the architectural renderings under an additional resolution at a future meeting when you've got those prepared, or the next meeting. Does that,
I think we're okay with that.
will that work for you guys? I mean, you can,
We can keep, as long as, we just want to try to keep going.
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
help you do, rather than
That'd be great.
postpone the whole resolution for the next meeting.
We would come back with, in a couple weeks, or,
Would that be the July 23rd
Yeah.
meeting we could into?
Yeah, as long as you have all the information into Lisa, so we can,
July 23rd might be cutting it kind of close, but if you could get it to me tomorrow, we can discuss with staff if we can put you on the July 23rd. If not, August 13th. I just need time for
we
Mark.
can keep going, getting the site plans,
provided we get this approved,
Yeah.
with that exception,
Yeah.
if the board's okay with it, I just was about to say, I don't want to speak out of turn, but that's my position.
I think it achieves the goal of the applicant to keep
Yeah.
the thing going,
Right.
because he's got some other items to
I mean,
take
the-
care of.
There was a lot of urgency last fall when you guys came before us, and I know you had to redo the whole site plan. So we're trying to help you out a little bit here, I think. And-
Yeah, no, we
Okay.
we appreciate it.
Yeah,
We're running a lot of trucks down Turk Hill Road right now.
gotcha. So with that, I will, you guys okay with me going ahead with the resolution for approval? All right, with that condition. So, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact, and there are 15 of them. There are copies of these in the back, if anyone wishes a copy. Whereas the Town of Victor Code, Chapter 211, 27.1, F2D allows for the reasonable reduction of parking spaces required in the Route 96 251 overlay district and may be permitted by the Town of Victor Planning Board. And whereas, sorry, I need these. Much better. The Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on July 9th, 2024, and identified no significant adverse environmental impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project, Lightcom's new building, will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and negative declaration be prepared. And be it further resolved that the planning board allow the reduction of parking spaces from 90 to 79 parking spaces be approved by the planning board. And be it further resolved that the application of 7321 Victor Menden Road, Menden LLC, 7321 State Route 251, Victor, New York, site plan entitled Lightcom's Building, New Building, drawn by BME Associates, dated May 31st, 2024, received by the planning board May 30th, 2024. We received it a day before the date was on the, I think we need to make sure that those dates are accurate. Lisa? Sure. Planning board application 16 SB 2024 be approved with the following conditions. Conditions to be addressed prior to chairman's signature on the site plan. Number 1 is standard. Number 2, that comments letter dated June 10th, 2024 from landscape consultant be addressed. Number 3, comments on the letter dated July 2nd, 2024 from stormwater manager be addressed. Number 4, the comments in a letter dated June 26th, 2024 from the town of Farmington Water and Sewer be addressed. That the comments, number 5, that the comments in a letter dated June 10th, 2024 from the fire marshal be addressed. Number 6, that the comments in a letter dated June 2024 from the architectural consultant be addressed, and that the applicant come forward for final approval of the architectural renderings for final approval once those have been addressed and submitted to the town planning department. Number 7, that the comments in a letter dated July 9th, 2024 from Labella Associates be addressed. Number 8, the comments in the letter dated June 28th, 2024 from the code enforcement officer be addressed. Ongoing conditions, number 1 is standard. Number 2, that any exterior lighting be code compliant and approved by the code enforcement officer. Number 3, that a pre-construction meeting be held prior to start of construction. Number 4, the building permit be obtained before the start of construction. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board approval letter. So with that modification, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move.
I'll
Ernie
second.
moves, Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, carried 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
See you in
Thank
a couple weeks or a month.
Yep.
Thank you
whenever
very
it
much.
works.
Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Next application, EVM charging stations. 100 to 1020 Eastview Mall Drive. Applicant is requesting approval for a site plan modification to the approved plan on August 23rd, 2022. That was to utilize 20 parking spaces for 10 dual-port EV charging stations. Modification proposed will use 40 parking spaces to install 10 dual-port stations. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to meet you all. Great trip out here, too. So, as you had mentioned, initially, we had gotten approval in 2022 to utilize 20 parking spaces. Fortunately, there was a miscommunication with our contractor. We apologize. They thought that they were putting them at the corners of each so that 4 cars could be served in any configuration, and that's why I ended up using 40 parking spaces. Once we did do that, the owner had also expressed that he actually liked that configuration better. And we're hoping to be able to keep those. And reason mechanically too, a lot of the EV charging where the ports are, it differs. You have some that are in the front, you have some that are like actually in the trunk. And you also have some that are on the side, like you would find in a gas can. So we just want to be able to make sure that we can adequately entertain every configuration so people of all sorts can be able to charge their vehicle as well. Now, we understand that we originally got in the 20, so we do have a proposal that if we have to, we can move the stations to a 90-degree angle. So that still would be serving the 20, and then the ones on the side that had gotten taken up would be free again for normal parking and non-EV parking.
That you'll have to explain.
Okay. So essentially what we have right now is on each corner.
You'll have to at least use a microphone.
I'm
so-
sorry. At least we have on each corner of them. So what we can do is we can alter the stations. Instead of facing each spot, we can alter them 90 degrees so that they'll serve one row on each side, still having the 20 stations, but freeing up some of the parking that that could be utilized by other.
The challenge with that is, that's why I wanted you to explain it, because is you're still taking up 20 extra spaces, especially during the holiday year, the Christmas holiday period, or, it is jam-packed in that area.
Okay.
And if you turn them sideways, you still don't know which one is one you can and park at and which one you can't, as a non-EV person.
We could
So-
put signage. That would help.
But are you gonna stripe 2 of them as EV and 2 of them not, so every other one would be EV, or how does that work?
Well, we could do whatever the town would want to be able to do that. We could stripe them if that would be acceptable to the town. We'll work with you any way we possibly can to make sure that the EV stations are marked off properly so that spacing can go back to regular parking. Or, like I said, we can keep what we have currently and just move on from there and get the extra easements, like you're saying, also get the legal permissions, like you had mentioned in your comments before, because it is going into the Ardor Macy's parking lot under that island as well. among other things. And I did have the chance to review the comments, plus the Labella comments that were sent out today as well, so.
All right. I'll entertain comments questions from the board. Ernie, would you like to start off?
There was a fireworks display out very close to where this is.
Okay.
Did that interfere with it?
No, as long as the fireworks aren't getting set right off the top of the chargers, they shouldn't.
No, they're not firing them off, they're just selling them.
Oh, no, then that should be absolutely fine. I apologize, I thought you were talking about they were actually launching them near them.
No.
Okay. No, that should be perfectly fine. Yeah.
Well, they were there earlier this month.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw them or not.
I don't live out here, actually. I'm in Schenectady.
Oh,
We're based in Schenectady, New York, so
you should have sent a drone over.
I actually wanted to have the chance to meet you all face to face because I couldn't the last time, so I thought it was a good opportunity for that as well. But joking aside, no, that would not be a problem whatsoever.
Suzie, could you go to the last picture that you just had up, the whole overview of the mall? Yeah, so the fireworks was, I think, right around here.
Yeah.
And your charging stations are somewhere in that area, I think.
That is plenty of distance, and ultimately that will be up to the Wilmerite, whether they feel comfortable or not, because they are the client and they're going to weigh the final word on that. We personally, there's no safety issues, there's no wiring running in that area from us, so there wouldn't be an issue with the fireworks vendor
Okay.
there.
I just wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone,
All right,
where
thank you.
things were oriented.
There was a comment in the file materials
I'm sorry.
about the lines just sort of laying on the pavement.
Yes, we can address that, absolutely. One thing I wanted to actually propose is if we worked with Wilmerite to have a maintenance plan to make sure that the current holsters we have, make sure that they are up, among other things. However, if we have to, we will be able to work on some sort of retractable solution like was originally.
Well, they're totally different charging stations, right, from the originally proposed and approved chargers.
They just don't have the retractor, essentially.
Okay, I thought they looked quite different.
They probably do look different because of the way the retractor looked with them, but they essentially are the same EV charging station.
Yeah, and the biggest challenge is if you're stretching lines from, across spaces where other cars are parked that either are plugged in or not plugged in, but people are crossing over.
Okay,
Hazard.
yes, I understand, yeah. Okay,
There's one.
Yeah, so that right there is the biggest, I mean, that's a lot of spaghetti on the floor.
that's understandable, yes.
So, yeah, that's, to us, a pretty serious safety
Okay.
issue.
We can definitely get that addressed, either by figuring out a retractable system that could work, or maybe even finding a way to, I know we can't shorten the cables, but find some way that they can be holstered safely for pedestrian and other traffic, among other things.
Ernie, anything else?
That's it.
Scott?
I just want to make sure I understand the proposal correctly. Right now, there's an approved plan for 20 stalls, is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, sir.
Under a more standard approach of connection and.
Half the spacing, literally.
Yes, it was supposed to be half the spacing initially.
I see. And so now the proposal is to double that from.
Well,
20
they were unfortunately built not with the half spacing. They were built with the 4 parking spaces, which was initially not the plan. There was a miscommunication. And we didn't realize it until the town brought it to our attention that they had been built this way by our contractor.
I see. So then that extends further into that parking aisle to
Yeah,
generate.
right, it was supposed to end 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like right there.
Yes.
So then, I guess in my mind, that kind of begs the question, how does that affect parking in a pretty busy area of the mall during peak season, which would be
And
holidays, Thanksgiving to New Year's?
And that was what Mr. Logan had just brought up, is that you guys have a pretty busy area during this time of the year, and we would have to somehow designate, if we were to keep the current plan, we would find a way to designate EV parking only via not EV parking only, either through signage, striping, or what have you.
Who's going to enforce that?
Well, if we had the signage there, but also I ultimately would fall upon the Wilmerite, I would believe. But that is another issue that I can bring back to my PM team, because we are kind of getting into waters that I'm not completely sure I can answer with certainty.
Just off the top of my head, is there another location that would provide you with the same ability in terms of charging vehicles, but not be perhaps in such a critical location?
What we're trying to avoid is having to take up more time in the parking lot and ripping up all the stations and having to move them. That's essentially what we're trying to avoid, especially with the wiring underneath, because not National Grid, I apologize. RG&E had to come out and put in a special transformer and vault in that area to serve those chargers.
And Wilmroyd is supportive of your proposal?
Yes, actually, from what I understand, when they saw what had happened, they thought that that might actually better benefit the people who would charge because of the configuration issues that I mentioned earlier, where the charging ports might be on the car. It might be able to better serve those people.
At this time, just so you know, we don't have any correspondence from the mall or
Okay.
Macy's. So if you do have that,
We can definitely get that for you.
we have nothing submitted, so just FYI.
Thank you.
Appreciate knowing that. I think that's an important item to cover. I don't have any more questions, but I find this to be kind of unusual.
Like I said, we do apologize, and it wasn't our intent.
Al, questions, comments?
So nothing really new to add. I mean, if there is a configuration by rotating those charging stations 90 degrees, that would effectively allow you to collapse back into the original footprint?
For the most part, we would probably, like Mr. Logan had pointed out, we would have to make sure we designated what's an EV parking area and what's not, so that people knew. And also, in conjunction with the cable issue, make sure that those are not going to be in the way of pedestrian or traffic, or like you had mentioned in your previous reports, snowplows, among other things.
Right, so again, I take the cabling issue as a separate topic, because that needs to be addressed
Okay.
independent of the configuration, but, again, I'm just trying to get in my mind, right, so again, if you rotate 90 degrees, instead of extending all the, closer to the mall, that,
It will collapse it back down, and we will be able to move the station or two that had been across the island back into closer to the original plan. That way, we're not ripping up the whole 10 ports to move them, we're just taking 2 and moving them closer.
I guess that would be my preference, if that
Okay.
was a viable solution and still, met the number of charging locations that you're looking to try to achieve there.
Yes, from the time that we had been made aware of what had happened with the building, we had been trying to find a viable solution, and our PM team and I have come up that would probably be the best that we could work with, is to collapse that back down to the 90 degrees.
Okay. And I mean, to the extent that, I don't think striping or signage would be effective. I think, if this is ultimately the configuration, then I think you just have to forego that we're going to give up X number of parking spots, because I think maintaining and policing that is near impossible, so.
So here's my thought. Go ahead, Joe. You got questions or comments?
So you started off saying that this was an unfortunate miscommunication between you and your contractor.
Yes, sir.
This didn't get installed overnight. What
No.
sort of oversight did you all have? Because your drawings that you submitted, the plans were pretty clear what you planned to do. How did it get so far out of control?
Unfortunately, sir, I am not able to answer that right now. We can write a separate letter addressing all those, but at this time, I'm not able to properly address every aspect that happened where this miscommunication had happened.
Did RG&E just come in and decide to drop that transformer
No.
wherever they wanted to?
No, they had a plan as well. Essentially, what they did is they had their planner come out, we met with them. They determined that a higher load transformer was going to be needed in the area, and then we worked with them to make the plan, which was finalized, I believe, in December of last year. They put in the vault, we put in our transformer, they connected everything, and it was, at that point, energized and ready to go.
Where is the transformer vault?
It's not on the plans, that's why I'm,
Well, they have to look at, go ahead, Kate.
Susie, either you can put it up or I have it on mine as well.
There's a picture. Which, is it the one, is it next to Tesla, or is it a completely new?
It's a completely new one right
This
up on
one
the.
up here?
Yes.
And is that near, yeah, it is, it's along the drive line.
Yep.
Near, Tesla's the next one to the south.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. This one here.
Bottom
Yeah,
one,
okay.
yes.
So it doesn't really matter where these spaces end up, because the transformer is not going to move no matter how this is changed.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, or fortunately,
Fortunately, yes, but I just mean unfortunately, the whole thing that brought us to this solution.
yeah.
But unfortunately, no, we cannot move the transformer, so.
So maybe that helps with your question about the transformer.
The whole thing strikes me as either like grossly incompetent or just, they might as well not have come before the planning board because they did whatever the heck they wanted to. So I appreciate you guys being kind of nice about this, but
You haven't heard me yet.
okay, I'll defer to you then because I'm done.
Well, I'm with Joe in that comment that I don't understand how a project manager could have let this one go on site.
That's understandable.
So, having said that, first of all, there's at least 2 stations that are off property. They're on Macy's property, so you'd probably need an easement for that to occupy. So easements alone have to get filed and all that. So if I were going to fix this problem personally, I would at least suggest eliminating the ability for cars to park on one side of that strip.
Okay.
Put both charging plugs facing one direction, so left and right. Then you don't need 20 feet of cable or whatever is out there sitting on the ground. I would certainly have retractables. And then I would put the median back in that's supposed to be there, because there was supposed to be curbing there that would protect it. And then stripe all the one sides as charging station spots, and the other side would be wide open for non-charging access. I don't know if anybody thinks that's a good idea. Else
Makes
think-
sense.
That was actually along the lines of what we were trying to propose, so.
So, but I'm still hearing that you've got a really long set of cables for each one. If you had them, if you turned it 90 degrees and you had the retractables, you could, one side fits the space to the right of the post as you're looking at it, and one side goes to the left. I could accept that modification, but the ones off property, you don't have a choice. I think you have to either move them or bunch it up, and maybe you make a set of 4 spaces near the transformer or something, so that the other side, you can put a couple more chargers next to, in between, and
And-
stripe them accordingly. But I'm trying to work with you here a little bit, that it was put in the ground much farther than should have been.
Like I said, all I can do is offer our deepest condolences. We are sorry that this happened.
Well, it's our condolences to you that you have
And
to
trust
deal with
me,
this,
as
but at
soon
the
as we
same
saw those
time-
photos, I'm surprised you guys didn't hear our jaws drop from Schenectady, because that definitely hadn't been in the plan set. But we will work with the town any way possible to amend this, including if you need those 2 chargers that are our property. We do not have a problem taking those and bringing them back into the fold where they need to be.
I mean, technically, if you're doing what I'm suggesting, then 3 of them would have to move.
Yes, I apologize. I keep missing that one that's right on the end. So yes, 3.
So, I would strongly urge you to rethink what you're suggesting to fit within the property, Wilmerite, and get out of the Macy's space, and then create a setup where you don't have to have people with the ability to cross over that median between posts with the, because originally it was proposed with curbing on both sides. So you could not drive through there rolling over post, cables lying on the ground like the one picture you saw.
Yes.
I can't approve this the way it is,
Okay.
personally. And I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but it needs to be fixed. And I think you need to come back with a plan that does that, possibly with something I'm suggesting, get it off the site, but, or go back to what you originally had and just shorten the whole thing up, and you just put them in every other spot along the way. Now, I don't know what that does with your wiring, if it's even possible, if you have to pull it back out of conduit and rerun it from the transformer out. You certainly don't have to move a transformer.
No.
So,
No, we will, like I said, we will work on any plan that will work with the town to get this fixed, or work in the way that it is that's favorable to the town. At this point, we're here to work with you on this.
so we can do this two ways, I believe. We can vote on your proposal and deny it, honestly, or we can ask you to take it back and come back again with something that is functional to, closer to the original plan, I guess.
Yeah.
With the, retractable posts and curbing along that stretch and moving it off of Macy's property.
That's perfectly understandable and acceptable. Like I said, I will get with our PM team to come up with a new plan. I will see if we can shrink it back down and see how that will work. But we will come up with a plan that satisfies what you guys need us to do.
So I'm going to step back a little bit. Is this something that we can do, Keith? Is just not act on it and let them come back with a new application?
We can roll it over.
Yeah, come on, yeah, sure.
To answer your question, yeah, you could do that, but it sounds like a lot of what you guys are saying is have them conform with the plan that they already have that's
Right.
approved.
Yeah,
The other thing I just wanted to bring up is if, I don't know if Susie can bring the picture back up of the transformer.
yeah, if there's other comments
That
that we
upper
need to
left
hear.
hand, that upper left-hand corner, so there were several things when codes showed up to do the CFC that were
Okay,
obviously completely not per plan.
Right.
Everything you see on that island is not on the plan.
okay.
So you guys, no one would have asked to have it protected or anything else because it's just not on the plan.
Well, I was going to make a comment about the fact that this
That's
looks protected. and this one isn't.
Tesla's,
Yeah.
that's theirs.
Yeah,
So just to, if we're redesigning anything or not,
Mm-hmm.
that needs to be protected.
yeah, so I guess you've already commented on, or Codes has already commented on those items, correct?
Yeah, they're on somebody else's property. They took up twice as many parking spots. They installed all of that. And then they have these cords that are tripping hazards before you even
You could
start to
drive
plow
over
snow.
them, for that matter, right? So I think what you're,
Too.
I'm sorry?
Snowplow, too.
Yeah, snowplows would be fun. So I think getting it closer to the plan that was originally approved, or at least applying those conditions, I guess, to the transformer, what was supposed to be there, I guess, might be the question to you.
Nothing. There's, if you look at the approved plans, they were going to bring the power off of the Tesla area.
Oh, so but what I kind of heard was RG&E said there's not enough power to do that, or at least in their transformer. Is that true?
I have no idea. All I can tell you is on your approved plans, that's not there.
Yeah.
How about the tree?
Yeah, the tree is like, is that killing the tree, or is that just like simple little, I don't know. If it's not supposed to be there, there shouldn't probably be a tree in the middle of a bunch of transformers. Correct?
Again, you guys want to comment it because it wasn't even proposed.
Yeah. But if Codes is saying it's not supposed to be there, how do we, and it's supposed to be on
Well,
the
I'm-
Tesla site?
I'm just saying because it was not on the plan, now that it's there, it's not protected in any way. So if it's going to stay there, it's modifications I would assume would have to be made.
Right, and so I guess I would need to know if RG&E has any other requirements for that thing to protect I don't know, whose transformers are they? The applicants? So RG&E is putting something there that's unprotected, right?
I would assume not all that is RG&E's.
Okay. So maybe they have a transformer, but there's other equipment that comes off the transformer that then feeds the distribution of,
Right.
or creates the distribution to those charging stations. Yeah, I think you have more work to do than what I tried to intimate.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what I expected, and like I said, we are willing to work with the town. We're sorry. I mean, that, I can't express
Not to
that
keep
enough.
saying that, I understand.
Well, I know, but I
Yeah.
just can't express that enough.
Appreciate that. I don't know, maybe the best thing is to deny it, but also to say, come back with another plan that more closely relates to the plan that was there.
Absolutely.
It means putting a few more in closer to the transformers so that you can do both sides, and then the rest of them, if it's longer than you originally expected and Wilmerite's okay with it, put the rest of the charging stations on one side so you're not going four ways from those posts, that you're still going with one on either side and then stripe it accordingly.
Okay.
That's my suggestion. If anyone else has a better idea, I'm
With
all
that
ears.
being said, are these comments going to be sent to me after
We'll get
meeting or-
meeting minutes and.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
And did you get Labella's comments
I
already?
did, and had them dictated when I was coming out.
I know you probably were driving, so,
Yeah,
okay.
I did get them. I have a great little thing that dictates to me emails, so while I'm driving.
Yeah, because Code also responded in the red, and then Labella from Kate,
And
so.
we will, like I said, my PM team, I will be going over these tomorrow, just to go over the responses and LaBella's comments. LaBella's comments are very much in the same vein of yours, especially regarding the easement. And also, I did see the requirement for the EAF on there, that if we do continue with this configuration that we have currently, that second EAF will have to be submitted, and that is not a problem either.
Kate's the next person I was going to say. Does she have any more?
Sorry, I don't mean to do your job for you.
I'll give her a chance to comment on what you just said and anything else that she might have on front of her.
Kate Powers, LaBella Associates. I won't go through all the comments because they are in line with what has already been discussed. But yes, the one outstanding item is the EAF Part 1 that previously, obviously, you just took into account a single parcel, and now you're taking into account the additional Macy's parcel, potentially. So the board will have to go through the seeker process again, depending on what it looks like. If it comes back and it's exactly like it was, then maybe not, but most likely a new short form Part 1 will need to be submitted by the applicant.
Absolutely.
Okay. Like I said, we have a application or a resolution for denial, and we also have a conditional approval, which I'm thinking isn't the right way to go, because we don't even know what the conditions are yet on all of this. So, with that, I think the best thing to do would be to go ahead and do the denial. We have a bunch of comments in here that probably reflect all the comments that we've heard from various people. Is this a public hearing or not? Okay, it's a public hearing. Any other comments from those in attendance that may wish to speak about or have questions regarding this application? Seeing or hearing none. Nothing online, Susie? Nope, okay. So I'll entertain a motion to close public hearing.
I'll move.
Al moves.
Second.
Ernie seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. Public hearing is closed. So I'm not seeing a favorable response to any kind of approval for this evening. I do have a resolution for denial, which will effectively send you back to the drawing board, if you will, for this application. So I will go ahead and read that. And
Does that then require a new application?
yeah, it'll be kind of like what
Really
they
looking
just.
for is a modified site plan.
Yeah, but the application would be, again, an application of site modification, which they just did. We're denying that request. They'll have to come back with another application for site modification, or saying, hey, we're coming back with exactly what we originally proposed, and we're going to fix it all. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Keith, you going to correct me here?
My understanding, though, is even if you deny it, they still have an approved plan from before that they can still turn this
correct.
into
Yeah.
without even coming back and seeing you
Okay,
guys.
all right. So that could be the most expeditious for you, is to just move on and fix it all.
Okay, well, like I said, I will be meeting with our PM team tomorrow. This has been a point of concern for us since you brought it to our attention beginning of the year. And like I said, all we want to do is have something that'll work with the town. And if that's the original plan and that is the best way to go, we'll definitely work with that.
Okay. So I will then read this resolution of denial. You can go back to the drawing board with all the comments you've heard, or just say, hey, might as well just put it back the way it's supposed to be. Call the contractor that screwed up on your contract and tell them to fix it, or whatever you have to do. So anyway, here we are. Okay, whereas the planning board made the following findings of fact. I'm just going to go ahead and read all this. Site plan application was received June 3rd, 2024 from Livingston Energy Group, the applicant by the Secretary of the Planning Board for a site plan entitled Eastview Mall, Charging stations. 2, the applicant previously submitted a site plan application on July 2022 to install 20 electric vehicle charging stations on 10 dual-port configurations with protective bollards in an area characterized by 20 parking spaces on tax map 6.00112.100, which spanned a linear distance of approximately 100 feet, including the landscape island adjacent to the Eastview Mall perimeter private roadway. The 2022 project is what this refers to. Town of Victor Project 18 SB 2022. Number 3, the 2022 project was given conditional site plan approval August 23rd, 2022, and final site plan drawings prepared by Colliers Engineering dated February 27th, 2023, were signed by the planning board chair on March 17th, 2023. And that would be the 2022 approved plans, which constitute the final approved site plan for Project 18 SB 2022. Number 4, it's the intent of the applicant's June 3rd, 2024 submission to request approval for a site plan modification to the 2022 approved plans. The proposed modification will result in an installation of 10 dual-port stations that occupy an area on 2 tax parcels, 6.11112.100 and 6.00111.000, spanning an area characterized by 40 parking spaces and spanning a linear distance of approximately 200 feet. The 2024 project, 2 times the area depicted in the 2022 plans, approved plans. Number 5, the site plan modification is being sought as a result of the 2022 project not being installed in accordance with the planning board's August 23rd, 2022 conditional site plan approved and 2022 approved plans. Furthermore, the site plan modification as part of the 2024 project is generally a reflection of as-built conditions on site as of June 3rd, 2024. Number 6, a public hearing was duly called and was published in Daily Messenger, and whereby all property owners within 500 feet of the 2024 project were notified by U.S. mail. An under review sign was posted on the subject parcel as required by town code. The planning board held number 7, the planning board held a public hearing July 9th, 2024, at which time the public was afforded opportunity to speak on the 2024 project site plan application. Number 8, the application was deemed to be an unlisted action pursuant to New York State Environmental Quality Review Act regulations, and a short form environmental assessment form was prepared. Number 9, the Town of Victor Fire Marshal reviewed the site plan on a letter dated June 10th, 2024, and provided comments. Number 10, the Town Victor Code Enforcement Officer reviewed the site plan in a letter dated June 17th, 2024, and provided comments. Number 11, LaBelle Associates reviewed the site plan and provided comments on July 9th, 2024 letter. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board reviewed the unlisted action on July 9th, 2024, and identified no significant adverse environmental impacts. Now therefore be it resolved that the project Eastview Mall Charging Station 2024 project will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and that a negative declaration be prepared, and be it further resolved that the application of Livingston Energy Group site plan entitled Eastview Mall Charging Station at the 2024 project drawn by Livingston Energy Group, dated May 20th, 2024, received by the Planning Board Secretary June 3rd, 2024. Planning Board Application 17 SB 2024 be denied for the following reasons. Number 5 of them. Number 1, the non-compliant with approved plans. Subject project which previously obtained approval from the Planning Board in 2022 was not constructed in accordance with the 2022 approved plans. Significant deviations were made without obtaining proper approval, including that the installation was as built conditions occupy an area approximately 100% greater than what the 2022 approved plans authorized. One major alteration was the expansion of the project from occupying 20 spaces to 40 spaces, and linear expansion that was approved at approximately 100 feet to the existing conditions that reflect a linear distance of approximately 200 feet. Such material changes and unauthorized modifications demonstrate a clear noncompliance of the 2022 approved plans. Part of number one still, despite town staff's thorough review and the planning board's approval of the 2022 project, the applicant either failed to adequately inform their contractors of the specifications of the 2022 approved plans or willfully chose to deviate from the 2022 approved plans. It is neither standard nor expected for the planning board to retroactively approve as-built plans, particularly those that previously appeared before the planning board in a site plan review process where formal review was conducted and a decision rendered. This deviation from the 2022 approved plans demonstrates a disregard for the planning board's authority and established procedures as set forth in Section 211.9 of the Victor Town Code, as well as the New York State Town Law, Sections 271 and 274A. Number two, unauthorized use of adjacent property. The 2024 project has expanded onto an adjacent property, tax map 6.00111.000, without providing the necessary authorization documentation, including formal written consent of the adjoining property owner that authorizes the applicant to apply for site plan approval related to the 2024 project. The lack of proper permissions raises concerns about its adherence to legal and regulatory requirements. Number three, operational and safety concerns. The 2024 project raises significant operational and safety concerns. The depth of bollard installation is unknown, has not been verified, and raises concerns related to stability and performance of protective bollards. Planning board understands that the charging cables associated with charging posts are 18 feet in length, as noted in the 2022 project application submission. Based on the 2022 project submission to the planning board that included a Livingston Energy Group detail sheet, EV charger data sheet, sheet number 6, which depicts an IC3 CP203 charging post with a retractable cable management system, the planning board issued conditional approval on August 23, 2022, expecting that the charging posts would include a retractable cable management system. The as-built conditions do not include the retractable cable management system and rely on a standard cable holster, which is small, difficult to see, and relies upon the user to return the cable. The use of non-retractable cables presents safety hazards and operational challenges, especially during snow removal, and is inconsistent with the 2022 project. Town Engineers, LaBelle Associates, July 9, 2024 letter also reiterates this issue. Number 4, electrical panel and transformer. As the as-built conditions include an electrical panel and/or electrical transformer in the landscaped island adjacent to the parking spots with the Livingston Energy charging posts, and which adjoins the Eastview Mall perimeter private road. The above-ground electrical components were neither on the 2022 approved plans, nor are they reflected in the 2024 project submission. No safety bollards are present on site for the panel transformer, nor are any proposed or depicted on the 2024 project site plans. Inferior submission, number 5, the previously approved plan had a more efficient design, was wholly contained on a single parcel, and contained a more suitable cable management system. In the opinion of the planning board, the 2024 plan is inferior to the previously approved site plan. And be it further resolved that the planning board secretary distribute the planning board's denial letter. So this is a denial, so you have to approve the denial. So, any questions before for a motion? Okay, a motion to approve this resolution of denial.
I'll move.
Ernie moves.
Second.
Joe seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Got some work cut out for you. Thanks. Okay. What am I missing here?
Do you want this? Didn't catch her name.
All right, so this final item on the agenda is for Bluestone Trail. Applicants requesting preliminary approval to develop a 59 for-sale townhome unit subdivision on 18.5 acres. Project will consist of 2 private roads off the north side of Rawson Road. This will be the second step in a 3-step process for a major subdivision. The sketch plan was acknowledged complete April 9th, 2024. We've prepared a resolution for lead agency declaration, which is what we are acting on this evening. We're not prepared to move forward on Part 2 EAF yet, so if you'd like to address the board?
Sure.
Any comments?
Good evening, I'm Ryan Destro from BME Associates. Just to recap from our last appearance in front of this board on May 28th, we are aware that the town and village are still working on their intermunicipal agreement for the ultimate route of the sanitary sewer from this project. We've also submitted updated overall preliminary subdivision plans for town review. They have been revised per the town staff comments that were received, as well as the town engineer comments, and they're also based on our response letters that we provided in May. Also, the 30-day coordinated review has ended. As such, the planning board can move forward with designating themselves officially as the lead agency for this project for the environmental review. And then for the last step, we do look forward to finalizing the public hearing once the sanitary sewer route has been determined. But with that being said, I am happy to answer any of your questions tonight.
So as we've been moving this along, right now we're kind of in a ground to a halt because of the sanitary sewer issue, and that's really why we can't move further forward, because we need to know for seeker what the impacts are going to be from the sewer
Correct.
Support. So any questions for the applicant this evening?
I had a question.
Scott? Yeah.
I was just looking through the application before. I was curious, with all the soil that's been moved and compacted out there and placed, is there some sort of testing that's taken place that identifies the ability of the soil to hold the structures and utilities and that sort of thing? What type of information do you have? I think this kind of relates to the EAF, but I was just curious to know if some sort of testing was done so that there's confidence in knowing that settlement won't occur.
Yeah, so there is an approved fill permit in place. It's currently still open. There were procedures that were required of the contractor as part of that permit. Compaction testing, I believe, was performed. And then once the project does move to the development phase, the contractor and the developer will be responsible for any compaction and testing requirements for the building foundations and the road pavement that's typical of any residential subdivision.
So that soil that's there now is basically a stockpile, correct? And that will be moved around once, to different spots, or is that?
The
is there any
intent
more
was
fill
to place it where it wouldn't be moved again.
Okay.
So it's in the main corridor where the roads are going to be projecting into the project site.
Okay, so Scott's question is certainly,
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been with large fill projects that they are prone to settlement issues, not only for utilities, but also for structures. So I guess as it relates to an EAF, an environmental assessment site, I think what might be helpful to the board in getting through that with respect to this issue is some sort of comment from your geotech or something along the lines that, the soil was tested, this was observed, there's confidence in doing what you just said. I just think as a board, we should have something like that to fall back on in case there are settlement issues or whatever. And once again, I have seen buildings settle, I've seen water mains settle, I've seen a lot of things settle in fill conditions like this. I mean, I haven't taken a look at your project in super detail, but I guess I think that the basement floor of the structures that you're proposing has got to be several feet above the original grade, no?
That's incorrect.
No?
The
Okay.
basements will be into the existing ground, so
Oh, okay.
they'll project through the fill area.
Okay.
So there really shouldn't be issues with the foundations.
I appreciate
as
knowing
part
that,
of the
'cause I
fill
didn't know that.
operations. And all of the units do include basements.
Okay.
Will project.
so on the plus side, it's like a pre-compaction load with that fill there. And then,
Okay.
like he was saying, if that original or natural ground elevation going to be above where the bottom of the basement is, it's already had some opportunity to settle from the
Yeah.
load there.
Plus, the original fills were already there for,
Yeah.
I don't know, eight or 9 years.
Quite a-
And
quite
have
a
settled, have also had heavy machinery
Mhm.
operating on top of it. The fills that were recently approved last year have been there a year now in place,
Mhm.
placed by heavy machinery too, so.
Okay,
So
well,
I think if you worked with a geotech and a geotech could make a statement to that effect, I think that'd be very helpful.
that'd be good for the seeker review. So that's what you're saying, right, Scott?
So I just wanted to, as I know we're going to be doing the seeker review, I just thought it might be handy to
Oh,
think
that's
about that.
great, thanks. Ernie, any comments? You all set?
Nope.
Okay. So, Like I said, this will be a resolution for lead agency, since the 30 days have expired for this process. So whereas on or about March 29th, 2024, the Secretary of the Town of Victor Planning Board received a site plan application entitled Bluestone Trail Subdivision, proposed at 7200 Rawson Road, Victor, New York, and whereas it's the intent of the Rawson Community LLC, the applicant, to develop 59 for-sale townhomes units on a 18.5 acre parcel, tax map number 2700128000, the project, and whereas the State Environmental Quality Review Act requires that a lead agency be established for the purpose of conducting an environmental review of certain actions undertaken by local governments, and whereas the project is an action subject to seeker, and whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board preliminarily classifies the project as Type 1 action under State Environmental Quality Review Act, and whereas the Planning Board has determined that it is the appropriate agency to serve as lead agency to conduct the environmental review of the project pursuant to seeker, and whereas the Planning Board identified involved and interested parties, including but not limited to New York State Department of Health, Village of Victor Department of Public Works, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the Ontario County Planning Department, Monroe County Water Authority, and the Town of Farmington Water and Sewer Department. And whereas the Planning Board sent lead agency coordination notification to these involved agencies, indicating the Planning Board's intention to act as lead agency and requesting their consent. And whereas the involved agencies either consented to the Planning Board acting as lead agency or have not objected within the 30-day time period. Whereas the Town of Victor Planning Board intends to proceed with the coordinated review as required for Type 1 actions, and a lead agency must be established prior to making a determination of significance. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board hereby declares itself the lead agency for the environmental review of the project pursuant to seeker. So with that resolution, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move.
Ernie moves.
I'll second.
Scott seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 5-0. And that's the last item on the agenda this evening, I believe.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Scott is going to be attending his first meeting
Yay.
for the Solar Committee this week. 2 days, I think, right?
It's the 11th, right? Yeah. I got something today. I haven't opened it up yet.
Okay. So, thank you all for attending, and
Move to adjourn.
motion accepted. Motion for to adjourn from Joe.
I'll second that.
Scott seconds. Everybody wants to go home. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Hey, Keith, could I ask you a question about the shed